comment faire une bonne rédaction en anglais, ce n'est pas un sujet très abordé sur les réseaux sociaux. Généralement, les gens font des vidéos sur comment rédiger un CV, comment rédiger une bonne lettre de motivation en anglais, mais comment faire une dissertation de bout en bout, de l'introduction à la conclusion, ça c'est très rare. Moi, je voudrais me jeter à l'eau aujourd'hui. Je vais vous donner tous les outils nécessaires et vous allez comprendre qu'il n'y a rien de sorcier. Je sais que certains d'entre vous ont un examen écrit et donc je vais vous donner les astuces qu'il faut pour réussir dans la salle d'examen à décrocher donc votre diplôme. On va partir d'un cas concret. Je vais vous donner toutes les étapes, tout ce qu'il faut faire, tout ce qu'il ne faut pas faire, et tenez-vous bien, ça va beaucoup vous aider. Donc, nous allons aujourd'hui parler de la dissertation en anglais. Bonjour et bienvenue, je suis Dominique Bazier, je suis encadreur pédagogique et coach en ligne. Je vais vous donner un sujet à réflexion. Voilà notre sujet. So this is our topic from which we will have to write a complete essay. It is a lexical competence, not the learning of grammatical structures that must be the priority of language learners, because lexical competence is at the heart of communicative competence. Discuss this viewpoint. So when you are submitted to such a subject, first of all, you have to look for the instruction. In terms of essay writing, there are 12 instructions that you have to identify and master and discuss as part of these instructions. Il y a 12 consignes à identifier, à connaître et discuter est donc l'une des consignes à comprendre, à maîtriser. The body of your essay writing, the body of your work should have three main parts: the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. There is one thing you have to bear in mind, very important. In a discuss essay or in a discussion in general, you don't say yes and no. The thesis is not yes and the antithesis is no. When writing about this subject, don't forget that the thesis does not oppose the antithesis. It's not an opposition. You don't say yes and no. You don't say it is possible and then it is not possible. If you do that, you fail. It's like going beyond. You say yes, but. You say yes and you go beyond. You expose the situation in the thesis, and now the antithesis is for you to point out the limitations of the thoughts. So I want to make sure you understand this aspect because this is very important. And in terms of writing essays, never allow deletions or arrows, underline or encircling, coloring, and there is no title, there is no subtitle. When the examiner looks at your work, he sees paragraphs. He doesn't see any title, he doesn't see any underline, he doesn't see any color. Of course, don't be too long. Select among your best ideas. Be concise and precise. Check the description of the video below. I left you a sample essay concerning this subject. Build your thesis with examples, illustrations, even quotations. You say to what extent the thesis is supportable, to what extent is true, what can illustrate it. And then you go beyond the thought, but you don't contradict yourself. And in the synthesis, you bring the common ground of the two sides, the conciliation point between the two sides, and then you conclude. But before even starting writing, you have to detect, to point out the keywords of the topic. I think the keywords here are lexical competence, grammatical structures, and communicative competence. For me, your first paragraph should be devoted to explaining, to defining these terms, because these are the basis of your work. And then the second paragraph is your thesis. And then the third paragraph is the antithesis. And then the fourth paragraph is the synthesis, and then you conclude. You can also decide to break the thesis into small paragraphs and also the antithesis into small paragraph before synthesizing and then concluding. As you have noticed, I didn't mention any words such as introduction and conclusion because this is something else. Now I want us to focus on the body. This is the most important right now. And I told you when discussing an idea, think about the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. So let us look at what I did. I want to propose this to you, but let us read the topic again. It is a lexical competence, not the learning of grammatical structures, that must be the priority for language learners, because lexical competence is at the heart of communicative competence. Discuss this viewpoint. So let us make sure we understand the keywords, which are lexical competence, grammatical structures, and communicative competence. Lexical competence is mastery of vocabulary. Grammatical structures means grammatical rules, grammatical lessons, grammatical standards. Communicative competence is the ability to use a language to communicate well, to express oneself correctly. The following is what I propose. I want to demonstrate the importance of vocabulary. I want to acknowledge the role, the place of vocabulary in language learning. This is the thesis. And then the discussion part, that is the antithesis, will consist in bringing out the fact that vocabulary cannot be the priority for language learners. This is where I discuss the idea. I bring other ideas, other arguments to convince my readers that vocabulary cannot be the priority for language learners because there are other things which are as important as vocabulary. And the synthesis, since they are two opposites, then I bring them together into a common ground that we can call the point of conciliation. And then I build paragraphs to support these ideas. You will see it in the description below. Don't quit this video without looking at it and see how you can ameliorate it. Of course, no human work is perfect. You can readapt it, you can perfect it to fit your desire. If you have any question on any topic, don't hesitate to reach out to me.